I didn't fall because I was careless. I fell because I trusted what had always been there. The rug, the cord, the chair, familiar things that quietly became risks. This is what I wish I had cleared sooner, before confidence met the floor. The first time I fell, I didn't think of it as a warning. I thought of it as a moment, an accident, a brief lapse in attention that could happen to anyone. I stood up slowly, brushed myself off, and told myself I was fine. The room looked the same. Nothing had changed. What I didn't understand then was that the danger hadn't arrived suddenly. It had been there for years. Homes grow familiar in a way nothing else does. We move through them without looking. Our feet know the path. Our hands know where to reach. Objects stop being objects and become background. Comfort settles in, and with it a quiet assumption: if something hasn't caused trouble before, it won't now. That assumption holds for a long time, until it doesn't. Age doesn't announce its shifts loudly. Balance changes subtly. Reaction time stretches just a fraction. Vision adjusts. Strength redistributes. None of this feels dramatic. None of it feels like decline. It feels like adaptation. And adaptation is how most hazards slip past us. We don't trip because we are careless. We trip because we trust what we know. The rug that's always been there, the cord that's always crossed the floor, the chair that's always held us up. Familiarity breeds confidence, and confidence can quietly become risk. Letting go of familiar objects feels unnecessary at first, even wasteful. There's a resistance that comes not from stubbornness, but from memory. These things have been part of daily life. Removing them feels like erasing small pieces of ourselves. But safety is not about erasing the past. It's about protecting the future. When I finally began to see my home differently, I realized something important. Most falls don't come from recklessness. They come from loyalty to habits, to objects, to spaces that no longer serve us the way they once did. That realization didn't come with fear. It came with clarity. Familiar objects carry emotional weight. They tell stories. They mark routines. They sit quietly in corners and hallways, blending into life so completely that we stop registering them as separate things. A small table by the doorway, a rug in the hallway, a stack of books near the chair. None of these feel dangerous. They feel lived in. They feel normal. Normal is powerful. When something has been part of your daily movement for decades, the brain stops evaluating it. The body moves around it automatically. You don't think about stepping over the rug or navigating around the table. You just do it. That automatic movement is a sign of confidence. But confidence relies on consistency. As the body changes, the environment doesn't always change with it. What once required minimal effort may now require more precision. A step that used to clear a rug easily now catches slightly. A turn that once felt fluid now needs more space. These changes are subtle enough that we don't consciously notice them at first. Instead, we compensate. We walk a little slower. We place our feet more carefully. We pause before turning. These adjustments feel responsible. They feel wise. They feel like maturity. But they also signal that the margin for error is shrinking. The problem with familiar objects is not that they suddenly become hazardous. It's that they remain exactly where they are while our bodies quietly change. The object doesn't move. The risk does. A chair that was once simply furniture becomes something we lean on. A low shelf becomes something we navigate around more carefully. A decorative piece becomes something we instinctively avoid. Still, we hesitate to remove them. There's a belief that adapting ourselves is better than altering the space, that changing the environment is an admission of weakness, that clearing things away means giving in to age. But safety is not surrender, it's strategy. Letting go of familiar objects doesn't mean letting go of independence. It means preserving it. It means acknowledging that dignity isn't tied to keeping everything the same. It's tied to continuing to move freely. The hardest part is seeing these objects clearly again, to look at a space not through memory, but through current reality. This requires honesty. Not harsh honesty, gentle honesty. Asking questions without judgment. Does this item support me, or does it demand adjustment from me? Does it help my movement, or does it ask me to work around it? Once you start asking these questions, the space begins to speak differently. You notice things you hadn't noticed before. Not because they changed, but because you did. That awareness is the beginning of prevention. Not fear-based, not urgent, just clear. Rugs and mats are often the first hazards people overlook. They're soft, decorative, comforting. They make a space feel complete. And for many years, they are harmless. The danger comes not from their presence, but from their movement. A rug that shifts slightly underfoot may not cause a problem for decades, but as balance becomes less forgiving, even a small shift can be enough. The problem is that these shifts are subtle. The rug doesn't slide dramatically. It just moves enough to catch a toe, enough to interrupt balance, enough to turn a normal step into a sudden loss of footing. Hallway runners are especially deceptive. We walk over them multiple times a day. They become invisible. The brain stops calculating their edges. Bathroom mats pose a different risk. They often sit on smooth surfaces. Moisture adds unpredictability. What once felt secure may now slide unexpectedly, especially when weight shifts quickly. Many people assume that rugs provide stability, that they prevent slipping. And in some cases that's true when they are properly secured, but many are not. What makes this hazard difficult to address is emotional attachment. Rugs are often gifts, inherited, chosen carefully. They add warmth to a home. Removing them can feel like removing character, but character doesn't keep you upright. There's also the belief that being careful is enough, that watching your steps solves the problem, but falls rarely happen when we're paying full attention. They happen during ordinary moments, turning to answer a call, carrying something, walking at night. Prevention works best when it doesn't rely on vigilance. A stable environment allows the body to move naturally. It reduces the need for constant caution. It preserves mental energy. When I finally removed a hallway rug I'd had for years, the space felt strange at first. Bare, almost too open, but within days something else happened. Walking felt easier, not because I was stronger, but because the path was clearer. That clarity matters more than decoration. Clutter rarely announces itself as danger. It presents as usefulness, storage, convenience, an extra stool by the wall, a box kept just in case, a cord that runs across the floor because it's easier than rerouting it. These things feel practical, but practicality changes with context. As vision adjusts with age, low contrast objects blend into floors. As reaction time slows, sudden obstacles become harder to navigate. As balance becomes more sensitive, stepping around items requires more attention. The problem is that we stop seeing these obstacles. They become part of the landscape. The brain edits them out. That's why clutter is so dangerous. Not because it's large or dramatic, but because it's familiar and low. Cords are especially risky. They lie flat. They're thin. They're easy to forget, but they interrupt a natural walking pattern. Low furniture presents a similar issue. Footstools, magazine racks, baskets items meant to be helpful become hazards when placed along walking paths. The temptation is to simply be careful, to step over things consciously. But constant caution is exhausting. It divides attention, and divided attention increases risk. Clear floors reduce cognitive load. They allow movement to remain automatic. When I began clearing low-level obstacles, I noticed how much mental energy I had been spending navigating my own home, avoiding, adjusting, remembering where things were. Once the floor was clear, movement felt calmer, less negotiated. This wasn't about perfection, it was about flow. A home should support movement, not challenge it. Removing clutter doesn't mean removing comfort. It means redefining it. Comfort becomes ease of movement, predictability, confidence. And confidence is safer than familiarity. Many people rely on furniture for support without realizing it. A chair back, a table edge, a shelf. These items feel solid. They've always been there, but they were not designed to bear weight. And when they shift unexpectedly, the result can be sudden and severe. Leaning on unstable furniture creates a false sense of security. The body trusts it. When it moves, the body has no time to adjust. This is especially risky during transitions, standing up, turning, reaching, moments when balance is already in flux. The problem is not using support. It's using the wrong support. Furniture that slides, tips, or rolls introduces unpredictability, and unpredictability is what leads to falls. Many people resist removing or rearranging furniture because it feels essential, because it's where things belong, because it's always been used that way. But support should be intentional. When furniture is no longer stable enough to lean on safely, it becomes a hazard, not a help. Recognizing this requires letting go of assumption, asking not, "Have I always done this?" but "Does this still serve me safely?" Making these changes can feel confronting. It feels like admitting vulnerability, but it's actually an act of foresight. Safe environments don't eliminate independence, they extend it. When support is reliable, movement becomes confident again. The body trusts the space. Fear recedes. Letting go is the hardest part, not because of the object, but because of what it represents. Clearing hazards can feel like admitting age, like giving something up, like becoming cautious. But prevention is not fear, it's respect. respect for the body you live in, respect for the years ahead. Nothing that truly supports your life is wasteful. If an object creates risk, removing it is not loss, it's protection. It's choosing safety over sentiment, not because sentiment doesn't matter, but because you do. When the home becomes safer, something subtle happens. Confidence returns, movement relaxes, the body stops bracing for impact, and life feels larger again. That is worth every cleared corner.